Oh god, we're not off to a good start. I'm already choking. Hi guys and welcome back. 30 days ago, I started a small plant experiment. I wanted to see for myself how well I could grow Rotala without any CO2 for 30 days. So just using minimal tech, a good light, and some good aqua soil. In part one of this growing experiment, I showed the results after only 6 days. And I have to say, they were pretty promising. So let's do a quick recap. I planted a tank with Rotala H'ra. I started off with a limited amount of stems because these were cuttings that were sitting in my holding tank. I fertilized once a week using XL and a general fertilizer. If you want to know the doses, you can check out part one. Everything is in that video. The light was set to 70% intensity and was on for 8 hours a day. Last technical thing of this recap is that I did a 50% water change every single week. So I would just let the tank run its course for a full week, and then I would do a 50% water change and redose my fertilizers. Personally, I don't consider XL as a fertilizer. I personally use it as a mild algicide. And because there is high light intensity in this tank and it is not established, this is why I like to use XL. It's just going to keep that algae at bay. I like to use it the first month of setting up a tank until the plants are completely established. And when they're nice and established and they're capable of pulling the nutrients from the water column, I can cut back or completely stop using it altogether. And here, just like in part one, we can see the difference between day 1 and day 6, which is pretty good for a low-tech tank. They're starting to get some nice coloration on the stems. Now that we're done with that small recap, let's see how the tank did over the course of 30 days. Coming into day 8, the stems were finally long enough for me to cut them and to replant them. So remember, I started off with a limited amount of stems. So the goal here was to have as many plants as I could in this tank, because we all know the more plants you have, the better your scapes will turn out. When you're setting up a new aquarium, live plants aren't just decoration. They're essential for building a healthy ecosystem from day one. So in a fresh setup, water parameters can fluctuate. That's why heavy planting makes a difference. Aquarium plants act as a natural nutrient sponge. So it's going to absorb excess waste directly from the water column. And by consuming these nutrients and taking up light and space, they are essentially starving algae from blooming in your tank. So this is a very simplified explanation, but it's a pretty logic one. So essentially, by trimming and replanting regularly, you're multiplying the amount of plants you have in your tank. When I was replanting these stems, I wasn't giving it much thought on how I was placing them. Technically, you could place them in straight lines, you could arrange them neatly. For me, I was just trying to fill out the tank as much as I could, but you could totally do a neat style, just like a Dutch scape. After all that trimming and replanting, it was time to net everything out, so then everything was nice and clean for the whole week. Day 9, I did a small top up because it was really starting to get warm. And coming into day 10, we can see there's a big difference color-wise. The shrimp were also doing really, really well. There's a lot of buried females in the tank, and I'm starting to see some small shrimplets as well. Coming into day 12, there was one stem that was just sticking out like a sore thumb, and that was really starting to bother me. So I just give it a quick trim and I replanted it. On day 14, I could see that there was some new growth that was starting to be visible on most of the stems I had trimmed back. Considering I had trimmed back 6 days prior, it was safe to say that the tank was doing pretty well. That same day in the evening, I could finally see some pearling on top of the stems, and it looked absolutely amazing. At day 15, we were officially halfway through this little experiment, and it was finally time to give the glass a good scrape. I had not cleaned the glass of this tank in a full 15 days, and it really needed a good scrape. I like to think that the glass is a good indicator of how much I'm fertilizing, especially in a low-tech tank. So it's really something I pay attention to. Coming into day 18, we can see there's a considerable difference with growth rate. We can see it's really picking up. So much so that day 20, we can see that the stems have hit the surface again. There's also a big difference in color and plant density. So the tank is looking really good from the top here, but it's also looking really nice from the side. Although we can still see that there are spots where there are missing some plants. So You guessed it, we're gonna do another trim and replant. This would be the last trimming and replanting of the scape during this 30-day challenge. Although the principle is the same, just trimming and replanting, this time I really wanted to trim differently. So what I did is I really mowed down the front section for it to be nice and low, almost to the aqua soil, and as I went backwards I would trim higher and higher. The goal here is to heavily focus on perception and sense of scale. By leaving the tall stems against the front of the glass, it's going to obstruct the background stems and it's going to flatten the view. By trimming on a gradient, the new growth follows that angle as it bushes out. So this is going to create a stepped layout that gives you a proper scale and a strong sense of illusion when it comes to depth, especially in the front section. In comparison to the first trim and replant, this one literally, it took me forever. The tank may be small, but because I was really trying to respect the sense of scale, the sense of perception, and I was being very careful with how I was placing the stems, it took me such a long time. And there were also twice as many stems as before. After all that planting, it was time to clean up. I had made such a massive mess. I literally spilled water all over the stand, all over the aquarium glass, on the floor. So it took me, again, quite a while to clean everything up. And this is what the tank looked like straight after planting. We can see the difference in density in the front section. It's nice and filled in. There's also a height difference when we look at it from the side. We can also see that now the tank is completely full to the brim with stems, and it's ready for its final last stretch. So I know what you guys are thinking, okay, that's all cool, but what does the tank look like after 30 days? And I have to show you because it looks absolutely insane. I mean, it's not too bad for only 30 days. There's still a long way to go for this tank. Overall, I'm really happy with how this experiment turned out. So guys, I strongly encourage you to try things for yourself, try and grow things without CO2, try things differently, and just see how they turn out. Don't take anybody's word for it. On the channel, I love showing you guys what can be done with a minimum of tech, and that's what I'm going to continue to do. That said, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I will see you next week for a new video.